And we are continuing here at Eyewitness News to follow breaking news from the Kingston campus of URI, where huge police presence has gathered there. State troopers, local police converging outside of and inside of Chafee Hall on the Kingston campus after reports of a gunman. This occurring at about 11:40 this morning. Tim White's been tracking the details for us in our newsroom. Tim, have we been able to talk to our crew on the scene yet from Kingstown to learn anything new yet?
Yeah, Danielle, we have an Eyewitness News crew on the Kingston campus of the University of Rhode Island, and they are telling us that there are a lot of students gathered outside the parking lot of Chafee Hall, and that's where this incident took place. And if we could show you a campus map of the University of Rhode Island, Chafee Hall is on the outskirts, Danielle, of the campus. It's on the north end of campus, and from the people that we've been talking to there, including law enforcement, including students that were inside Chafee Hall, there's been some consistent information coming out of there, and that is that either a male student stood up or walked into the classroom and said something to the effect of, "I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy," and then one student claims they saw that person have a gun on them, and that's when she yelled, "He has a gun." A professor told everyone to leave, and a parent of one of the students I talked to said the daughter described it as a stampede of students that ran out, and they all ran out into that parking lot. They left their laptops behind, they left their telephones behind, so it's been very difficult for them to communicate with mom and dad about what's been going on. I want to tell you, just shortly after noon, the University of Rhode Island updated their website, and they said they, quote, "continue to investigate reports of a gunman in and around Chafee Hall. Secure yourselves indoors and don't move about campus." And I can tell you that interns that go to the University of Rhode Island and work here in the WPRI newsroom have been getting automated phone messages from the University of Rhode Island that are telling them the exact same thing. Danielle, clearly this is still a very active situation there. State police, local police, campus police are scouring the campus, and we have an Eyewitness News crew on scene, and we're going to bring you the latest as soon as we get it. For now, live in the newsroom, Tim White, Eyewitness News.
Now, Tim, before we let you go, a question about what you're hearing. Again, we have not confirmed whether any sort of weapon was found. And do we know if there's an individual still contained inside of Chafee Hall? Have you been able to gather any information on that? Is Tim still with us? I guess we're attempting to get Tim back there.
Danielle, my colleague Walt Buteau spoke with the colonel of the state police, Stephen O'Donnell. He says that they are going through the campus, and this was, I should tell you, this conversation that we had with Colonel O'Donnell is going on about 35 minutes ago. So this information as of 35 minutes ago was that they had not found anyone with a gun on campus, but they are still searching the campus, and the campus is considered on lockdown. So to answer your question, as of now, we have no information that anyone is in custody, and we also don't have any information to verify what that student thought she saw in that classroom, and that was that person that walked in there, she thought he had a gun on him. So we don't have any information that would confirm someone's in custody or to confirm that someone actually had a weapon.
All right, Tim, thank you so much for gathering all the latest information for us. Right now, we have an Eyewitness News videographer who is on the scene at the Kingston campus gathering some images for us. Brian Butler, you're joining us now on the phone. What are you seeing and hearing right now, Brian?
Well, hi, Danielle. The air is kind of calm here. There are a lot of URI police, a lot of North Kingstown police. I can see at Chafee Hall a couple of guys in protective vests standing outside. They have warned the students. I spoke to a student earlier. She had told me that she was in philosophy class when she heard some yelling and screaming, and her professor then began to tell all of the students in a very serious tone to leave the building, to get out, to run. And that's exactly what students did. They ran out, leaving everything they had inside the room, inside the building. They left, went out into the quad, into the parking lot area. A short time ago, about 10 minutes ago, there was a URI emergency message that came over the loudspeakers out on the campus. It said to move away from Chafee Hall until further notice, and that's what they did. As soon as they heard that, they moved further away. We're now at Rodman Hall, which is just south of Chafee, and the police have the entire area blocked off.
Brian, I know that you've covered. Okay, Brian, I know that you've covered certainly a lot of news events for us over the years, and I know you said you're at Rodman Hall, which is away from Chafee Hall. But what are you seeing for police presence away from sort of the center of activity? Are you seeing state and local police moving further, into the campus and walking around other areas of campus right now?
No, they seem to only have this one area locked down. There are layers of security that lead up to the building, so they're keeping everyone away from any real visible area of the building. The mood is somber, not somber, but I mean at least calm here with the students. Everybody's on their phone, everybody's on their iPads looking for information, trying to find out more about what's going on and also keep in touch with each other. So far they're just in a waiting game, and so they did take it very seriously. I know a lot of students did take it seriously, and then you can tell by their faces there's still a certain amount of concern here until this thing comes to an end.
Everybody was alerted in different ways, whether it was via their phone or their computer or their tablet or perhaps, as you said, over the loudspeaker. And I know that you're outside, but can you see from where you are any of the students who are inside any of the buildings, perhaps looking out of the windows, kind of taking in the scene from where they are in other locations?
No, the other buildings seem to be going about business as usual. There's a couple of students looking out windows that I see here at Rodman Hall. At the other students, probably 100 or 200 standing here. But luckily there's no rain, there's no heavy weather. I have not seen anyone police-wise go into the building, but I understand through witnesses that state police are here. State police are conducting searches, and URI and campus police, as well as South Kingstown police, are also here, just keeping an eye on things.
All right, Brian, we're going to let you get back to your news gathering efforts over there. We appreciate it. And again, we know that Brian has captured some of the images from the scene, and we hope to be bringing those to you shortly, whether it's video from outside of the building. And again, some photos that have come in via Twitter, Facebook, etc., that we're monitoring as well. Right now, we want to check back in with Tim White for new details from our newsroom, as Tim has been monitoring all the different angles of this breaking news story for us. Tim, what have you learned?
Well, Danielle, just listening to Brian there talk about how the campus loudspeaker system got on and told everyone to get away from Chafee Hall. And Chafee Hall is obviously the focus of attention with this breaking story. A little bit about Chafee Hall, as I said before, it's on the outskirts of campus on the north side. The building houses the arts and sciences for the University of Rhode Island. There was a philosophy class going on at the time, as you heard Brian talk about. Also, journalism classes take part in Chafee Hall. There's multiple classrooms in there. There's a large lecture hall. And that is, I spoke with the parent of a student who was sitting in that lecture hall at the time. And again, we're hearing some of the consistent themes here, that a student either walked in, or I should say a male walked into the classroom or stood up and at that time said something to the effect of, "I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy." And that's when another student thought that they saw that person with a gun, and everyone ran out of the classroom. Teachers, professors within Chafee Hall going around telling everybody to get out of the building. And now, of course, we're hearing that on the loudspeaker system, they're pushing everyone back from Chafee Hall. Now, we say all this, and we can tell you that we are not hearing of any arrests of any individuals, nor has there been any confirmation of a weapon inside Chafee Hall at the time. It is based on a student thinking what they saw. But state police, local police, and campus police, who were the first to respond, according to Colonel Stephen O'Donnell, are all on scene, and they're going room to room in that building. Again, we don't know if they have anyone in custody. Shortly after noon, the URI website, University of Rhode Island website, told the students that they, quote, continue to investigate reports of a person with a gun in and around Chafee Hall, and they're telling everyone to secure yourself indoors and not to move around campus until this thing is over. Danielle?
All right, Tim, thank you. And again, as you heard Tim briefly mention in his report, a lot of our information is coming in via some of the interns within our building who are actually URI students. They're receiving alerts on their cell phones. We're also, again, checking the URI campus website as well as state police for all the latest information. And our own Ted Nisi has been monitoring sort of the online developments for us, trying to gather more information. Ted, what have you found out?
Danielle, I have information just in within the last 60 seconds from the University of Rhode Island, and this is very important. The campus has not been cleared. The URI campus has not been cleared. This is direct from URI on the official Twitter account of the college. There has been some reports circulating on social media that the place had been cleared, but they say the campus has not been cleared. Precautions remain in place. No injuries have been reported. Stay indoors until further notice. Again, that's the very latest within the last 2 minutes now from URI themselves. Their website is struggling to meet the demand of people looking for information, but just now on URI's Twitter feed, they say the campus has not been cleared, precautions remain in place, no injuries have been reported, and they're asking people to stay indoors until further notice. And you know, it's very important that people don't take as gospel anything they see directly on social media unless it's coming from an official source. It's hard as reporters, sometimes you see things flying around and we try to make sure we wait until we see it confirmed. And in this case, we do have confirmed information from URI that this is an ongoing situation, as Tim White just said, and they're still asking people to stay indoors until further notice. Brian Butler said a few minutes ago they're actually moving people back from Chafee Hall. But again, we also want to emphasize that URI themselves just saying within the last few minutes no injuries have been reported at URI in this apparent gunman or potential gunman situation down there. That fits with what eyewitnesses have been telling us. They're telling us that they haven't heard any gunshots, they haven't seen any gunshots fired, they haven't heard other people telling them gunshots were fired. So again, from URI, no injuries have been reported, but the campus has not been cleared and people are being asked to stay in place, and we'll continue to monitor everything going on online and right there on the scene here inside the newsroom. Back to you, Danielle.
All right, Ted, before we let you go, I know that you've been monitoring, again, numerous sites, including Facebook, Twitter, etc. Have you been able to see any images coming from the campus that we just maybe not have been able to turn around to pass on to our viewers yet?
To be honest, not so far. What you're really seeing is a lot of students just really concerned and seeking out information from each other. There hasn't been much to post other than pictures of things outside Chafee Hall. We haven't seen anything from inside there. You've also had people suggesting they were there and then getting contradicted by others. So the situation seems pretty confused down there, and the students are really hoping to get information. They're certainly very concerned, understandably, with what we've seen over the past few years about what's going on, and they're trying to get more information. But we're keeping a close eye on that, and as photos and other information and anecdotes become available, we'll bring them right to you.
I know that URI officials are certainly monitoring the situation very closely and posting updates on their site. It appears to be every 5 to 10 minutes or so. Do you know, from being in the newsroom, I know you've been in there while we were doing our new newscast, if you've heard any information about perhaps a URI official preparing to speak on this to anyone who's on the scene or to anyone in our newsroom yet, Ted?
Not so far. Rhode Island State Police Colonel Stephen O'Donnell has been in touch with Tim White and others in our newsroom a bit, but of course their first priority is going to be during a situation like this to get inside, to investigate, and to see what's going on. So we've been piecing things together based on what they're sending out from the central database. One problem for URI is that their own website appears to be failing under the load of people trying to load it, and that's why they're turning to Facebook and Twitter to provide information. I did reach out a little while ago to the governor's office to see if they were monitoring the situation. They said they were directing all questions to the state police. So this is a state police matter at the moment. I would presume as soon as there's more information to be provided, they will provide that. But you can see right here, I just looked, and URI just tweeted to a whole bunch of people, some other media outlets included, that the campus has not been cleared and precautions remain in place. So they're really trying hard to get that information out there and to avoid and actually, I just have another breaking announcement here. This is from URI. As a precautionary measure, all classes are canceled today on the Kingston campus only. So this is another update just coming in from URI that as a precautionary measure, all classes are being canceled today down on the Kingston campus. So certainly this is not something I think will be over within the next few minutes or soon enough to get things back to normal. So at the moment, we're hearing no injuries reported. The campus is still under lockdown. It hasn't been cleared, and there won't be classes today now at the Kingston campus in URI. That's what we have at the moment.
Ted, we certainly appreciate you giving us all the up-to-minute information as you're tracking everything online. We appreciate it. And again, we have Tim White in the newsroom also tracking developments. And a few minutes ago, if you've been watching our newscast since the top of the hour, one of our photojournalists, Brian Butler, is down on the campus of URI in Kingston gathering some images. This is the first video just into our newsroom where you can see, as Brian estimated, about 100 to 200 students who were evacuated out of Chafee Hall, and they're gathering outside of Chafee, and I believe Rodman Hall is where Brian was situated. See many of them with their backpacks and their cell phones gathering around, waiting for more information to come out of the campus. Again, many of them looking at their cell phones for the very latest information from URI officials as they send word out on what they're tracking. Again, you're seeing a sign there for Chafee Hall. Obviously, Brian Butler, who is our photojournalist on the scene, has not been able to get close enough to witness more of the police activity. But from Eyewitness News accounts, we know that there is a lot of police activity. State troopers, local police, all in and around the Chafee building investigating this report of a potential gunman. Again, the first bit of information coming in our newsroom today at about 11:40, and we've been tracking the developments for about an hour now. I believe we want to head back to Tim White, who is in our newsroom gathering even more information. I know that you, Walt Buteau, Ted, you've all been on the phone with your sources. You hearing anything new, Tim?
Well, why don't we repeat some of the biggest headlines that we have right now, and Ted talked about it just a little bit earlier, but this is very important information that's just coming in. And again, the source of this information is from the University of Rhode Island through their website and their Twitter feed. First and foremost, that the campus has not yet been cleared. As Ted pointed out, there's been some reports on Twitter that this thing is over. It's not. The campus has not been cleared. They're still searching the campus, and particularly the Chafee building that we've been talking so much about, and a little bit on that in a moment. Again, another important note here. No injuries so far reported by the University of Rhode Island. And another important note, all classes have been canceled for the day at the Kingston campus of the University of Rhode Island. So again, the campus not cleared, no injuries, and all classes have been canceled. Those are the top three headlines we have at this moment, again, from the University of Rhode Island, both their website and their Twitter feed. Now, the center of attention is on this Chafee building, and we've been talking to people who've attended the University of Rhode Island, who go to that school. It's a large building. It has a couple of 500-person rooms. It holds 10 different academic departments, according to their website, inside there. It's part of the College of Arts and Sciences. A lot of our interns here are very familiar with the Chafee building because a lot of journalism classes are held inside that building. As you heard from Brian Butler on the scene, he talked to some students that had some philosophy classes in there, and I spoke with the parent of a student who was in the large lecture hall where this incident apparently took place. And I got to tell you, talking to this father was a really scary moment for him, because he originally called me, it's someone I know, and asked if what I knew was going on down at the University of Rhode Island. And that's because his daughter, like many of the students that were in that lecture hall, ran out of that classroom. He described it as a stampede, and they left behind their cell phones. They left behind their laptops. So communication with mom and dad has been very difficult. The father I talked to went right to the campus, was able to, see his daughter face to face, and that was obviously a great relief. But here's what she told him, and I should tell you that daughter has also been got a phone call from campus police. They're trying to seek as much information as they can. She told him that there was a male student that either walked into the classroom or stood up and said something to the effect of, "I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy." Another student claims that they thought he had a gun on him. That's when she yelled out, "He has a gun," and the professor told everyone to get out, and that's when everyone ran to a nearby parking lot, and that's where all the students gathered. That's where this father met up with his daughter in that parking lot and was able to get her out of there. So obviously it was a very hectic scene, and if you can just imagine being a parent, having a child on that campus at that time and not being able to communicate with them because they just ran out of that classroom without their phone, without their laptops. I'm going to just go over the headlines one more time for you here, Danielle. The campus, according to the URI website and their tweets, is not cleared. They say, University of Rhode Island said there are no injuries, and for today, all classes are canceled. Danielle?
Once again, Tim, in our newsroom tracking the breaking details from there. And again, it's important to note that in this day and age, we're so used to getting information so quickly, and this story has been unfolding for more than an hour now. So I can only imagine for students and parents, it's beginning to maybe be a little frustrating to not be getting more information more frequently as state police continue to investigate the report of this possible gunman on the campus. Right now, we want to head back to Ted Nisi in our tech center to see what he's tracking online for us. Anything new, Ted?
Well, Danielle, first and foremost, it's important to us that we don't pass along any information unless we've confirmed it or gotten it directly from URI. So we can hopefully assure you that if you hear it from us, we're doing our best to only pass along things we've really figured out and gotten right to the source on, because there's a lot of information going around. And as you said, Danielle, I can imagine how frustrating it is for parents and friends of the students there, as well as people on campus, of what's going on at the moment. As far as I can tell at this moment, the latest from URI is URI has all classes have been canceled today on the Kingston campus. They have not cleared the alert, so that means that they are still in lockdown. They want students and faculty and staff to stay inside, not if they're in Chafee Hall. Presumably, hopefully nobody is in Chafee Hall at this point, since that's been the word for quite a while, and they want people to stay inside until further notice. All classes canceled. I want to emphasize again that we're hearing no injuries have been reported so far. That was the word from URI within the last 10 minutes. So although there are reports of a gunman down there, or at least someone seen with a gun, there are no reports of injuries and no confirmed reports of shots fired or anything along those lines. So we're monitoring that closely. I did speak with an eyewitness a little while ago, and what he told us was, and I should say an eyewitness who's outside Chafee Hall, not someone who was inside the building that we've been hearing about. He said he arrived at campus, he works at URI, he started asking people what's going on. What they told him was that one student said she was in a classroom, a lecture hall, and someone came inside, stood up and said, "I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy," and that person said then the professor told everyone, "Get out, clear the room," and people quickly evacuated. That fits with what Tim White has heard from the parent of another student who said that someone said that person yelled, "I'm a nice guy," and someone else said he had a gun, and then again the professor said to clear. So we are starting to hear some reports that fit together on what went on inside that classroom. Again, none of them end with any shots being fired or anything like that at this point. But right now from URI, the very latest is their website is largely down. They're trying to post updates for people on Facebook and on Twitter, so that's a good place to go for information, as well as on WPRI.com. We're updating as we get more information, and on our own Twitter account. The most recent news from URI, they are canceling all classes today. I know I've mentioned that, but in case people are just tuning in, and they are emphasizing over and over the campus has not been cleared. There were reports within the last half hour that the campus had been cleared. That's not true. According to URI, the campus has not been cleared, and all these precautions remain in place. They want everyone at URI on the Kingston campus to stay in place indoors until further notice. Back to you, Danielle.
All right, Ted, we appreciate it. Certainly we can't underestimate sort of the anxious feeling that many of these students felt as they were in that classroom or in or near Chafee Hall when all of this was going on. Again, we had talked to a student by the name of Brianna earlier in our newscast who described, I believe she had said she was shaking and crying after she stood there and sort of thought about what potentially could have happened in light of, the recent violence we've seen on campuses and schools across the country in the past 5 to 10 years. Certainly many of our viewers know the coverage we've had of some of these potentially dangerous and scary stories over the years. I'm wondering if Tim White is back in our newsroom for us. I know that he has been tracking new information, and I know you had spoken with a couple of parents who described that very tense and anxious feeling that they as parents were feeling and that their kids were going through.
Yeah, no, tense is really the appropriate word here, Danielle, and I just got off the phone with another parent who tells me that they're a little frustrated with the lack of information that they're getting out of the campus. As Ted pointed out a few minutes ago, Ted Nisi pointed out, the University of Rhode Island's website went down because of presumably the sheer volume of people that were going to it, but they have been doing a good job, if I will, getting information out to people through their Twitter feed, which is URI News is their handle. I want to tell you, Danielle, that I check in with certain areas of law enforcement when there's a big news event happening, and what we have found out is that one unit, the Providence Police Special Response Unit, and that's basically a SWAT team, if there's an active shooter situation going on, sometimes they are called on into situations like this. We can tell you that the Providence Police SRU has not been called onto into going down to the Kingston campus at this time. we can read into that what we want, because the state police are there, local police are there, as well as the campus police. But the Providence Police Special Response Unit has not been called down to the Kingston campus at URI. To repeat some of the headlines that we're getting through the Twitter feed of the University of Rhode Island, the campus has not yet been cleared. Very important note here that no injuries to report of at this time, and that all classes have been canceled for the day. The focus of attention here, Danielle, as we've been talking about, is Chafee Hall. Chafee Hall is on the outskirts of campus. It's on the north side of the campus. It's a big building. It houses a lot of the arts and sciences in there. There are a couple of lecture halls in there, I'm being told, 500-seat lecture halls. And it's in one of them that this incident apparently took place. And talking to some of the eyewitnesses there and to the parents, that a student, a male student, we presume it's a student, I should say, a male, was in that classroom, either walked in and stood up and said something that drew everyone's attention to that person. This again coming from eyewitness reports, and apparently that student said, "I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice guy," something to that effect. And another student, we're getting from eyewitness reports, thought they saw something that looked like a gun, and that then caused everyone to panic. Teachers telling everyone to get out of not only that lecture hall, but we're learning now that teachers were telling everyone in that building to get out, and they gathered in a nearby parking lot, and that's where we spoke to Brian Butler. He was pushed away, as were a lot of students. They have a loudspeaker system on campus. We're hearing from Brian Butler, our photographer from Eyewitness News, and on that speaker system, they were telling everybody to get away from Chafee Hall. The phones have been ringing here for our interns in the Eyewitness News newsroom, and the automated message is telling all the students to stay indoors, secure yourself indoors, and just don't move about. The police have a job to do here. They're obviously scouring the campus, and they are scouring that Chafee building, a massive building that houses 10 different schools of arts and sciences, 2 massive lecture halls, and a lot of different classrooms that all law enforcement has to go through before they can get anywhere near and clear this situation, which is obviously something we hope happens very soon. Again, the headline: campus is not cleared, there are no injuries, and classes at URI are canceled for the day. Danielle?
All right, again, important to note, classes at the URI Kingston campus are canceled for the day. One of the things that many of the things Tim has been talking about is what we do know from the scene. Some of the things that we still don't know. Was a weapon found? Was a weapon even introduced inside of Chafee Hall? Certainly that is the focus of the state police investigation that's ongoing right now. And also, who was the professor that quickly evacuated these students? We're hearing from many of the students who were inside about really how important it was that the professor realized the potential for danger here and quickly ushered those students out of the building. I believe Brianna Kimball, who joined us earlier in the newscast, is back on the phone. Brianna, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, Brianna, again, you are a student at URI. You were actually inside that lecture hall. Can you recap for us again what you saw and heard?
Yes, I mean, I was in the lecture hall with Barbara Van Sciver, my professor, and we were just in the middle of class, and then all of a sudden I heard some sounds, like a mentally disabled man. I guess he said, like, "I'm a nice guy," or I'm okay, and then my professor just started signaling all of us to run, and so all 300 people just flung their stuff and ran out of the building as fast as they could.
All right, Brianna, you just identified your professor as, I believe, Barbara Van Sciver. What can you tell us about her, and what was her demeanor like during this situation?
Well, she's my physiology professor, and I mean, she just cared about the safety of her students, and she just told us just to run as fast as we could to get out of there.
All right, I guess we're looking at some live pictures from it's aerial footage where you can see state police gathered outside of the Chafee Hall. We're going to keep you on the phone, Brianna, as we look at these live pictures, though. In the last hour or so, who have you been able to talk to? Because I understand you were trying to get in touch with your father, but you had some difficulty because did you not have your cell phone with you when you ran out?
Oh, no, I was luckily able to grab my cell phone, but I wasn't able to grab, like, my other belongings. So I still have my laptop in there, as well as all the other students. They all their stuff still in there. We don't know when we're going to be able to get it back.
Okay, but again, you did speak with your father. Who else have you been able to talk to? Because I'm sure there's been people who've been worried about what's going on and worried about you.
Oh, I talked I talked to my mother and I talked to some of my friends.
Let me ask you a question about what's going on with the other students, because I know now the situation has been unfolding for more than an hour. Is there a sense of maybe impatience or frustration at all with, you know, maybe information not coming out as fast as people want it to? What is sort of the mood there among the students?
Well, yeah, everyone, I mean, no one knows what exactly is going on. We don't know when we're going to be able to get our stuff, and we don't know actually where this dangerous man could be, so that's kind of nerve-wracking because they still haven't found the person, I don't think.
Yeah, you haven't received any word from URI in the last, what, 10 minutes or so? Do you recall the last time you got a text or an alert from them?
Yes, I just got a call from them a couple minutes ago, actually, just telling me that the school's still in lockdown and to find safety.
I understand that I believe Tim White was telling us that state police may have contacted you already, Brianna. Is that true?
No, they have not.
Okay, that must be a different student. I apologize for that. So tell me again, just set the scene for us right now. What are you seeing and where are you situated in relation to Chafee Hall right now?
Well, I actually just went back to my dorm building. My dorm's, it's actually behind Chafee Hall. Mm-hmm. But I know there's still a lot of students standing outside of Chafee.
Let me ask you a question, Brianna, because I know earlier you had said sort of your reaction when you had fled the building, you realized that everybody was safe and okay, but as you sat there and took stock of what potentially might have happened, and you explained to me earlier what was going through your mind, what was your parents' reaction when you talked with them?
My parents' reaction? Well, my mom, like right away, she's like, "Are you okay? Do you want me to come get you?" And she was very worried about my safety, and she just couldn't believe that was actually happening at URI.
All right. Well, we appreciate again, Brianna, you staying safe and providing us with the student perspective from URI this afternoon. And again, we thank you for joining us and hope that you receive some more information soon. Tim White, again, has been working diligently since this story broke at about 11:40 this morning. Tim, in the last 5 or 10 minutes since we last spoke with you, what have you learned?
Well, we have some new information coming in from the Rhode Island State Police. It is the same message that we got about an hour ago from Colonel Stephen O'Donnell. An hour ago, he told us that there does not appear to be anyone with a gun, but they are going through the building, and that is in a reference, of course, to the Chafee Lecture Hall that we've been talking so much about, and they're going through the campus right now. Our news partners at the Providence Journal, as well as the Associated Press, are telling us that that Colonel O'Donnell again is saying there is, quote, no evidence of a shooter on campus. Clearly, that is so far very good news coming from the state's top law enforcement official. State police are there, municipal police are there. Colonel O'Donnell telling us that it was, of course, the campus police that first responded. A quick note on that, Danielle. We have confirmed that the campus police at the University of Rhode Island do not carry weapons on them, and if there is an active shooter situation, they rely on the local police and the state police, and there's also a Providence Police Special Response Unit that often gets called into these situations. I spoke with a member of the Providence Police Department. The Providence Police SRU has not been called down to the Kingston campus. Again, read into that what you will, but this is still an active situation. The latest from URI is that the campus is not cleared. There are no injuries, and classes have been canceled for the day. Danielle.
All right, Tim, and again, as we have heard from some of the student witnesses and again from some of the other people who have been gathered on the scene, there's starting to be a sort of a sense of slight frustration at the lack of new information coming from the scene regarding exactly what's going on inside of Chafee Hall right now. We do have our own Ted Nisi, who's been monitoring online developments for us, checking again the URI website and other sources for us. Ted, what do you have for us?
Well, Danielle, I just got off the phone with an employee at URI who's in the Woodward building, and the Woodward building is across the street from the Chafee Hall that Tim's been talking about, which is where this has happened. He said something that fits with what our colleague Steve Nielsen, who's just arrived at URI, is saying, which is that it's sort of eerily calm now on campus at URI. The person I spoke to, Joshua, told me, he said the students have mostly deserted the place because classes have now been canceled for the day. He said he and his other colleagues colleagues are in their offices with the doors closed. The lockdown has not been lifted, so they're still inside taking shelter. But he did say actually that outside the building, right near Chafee Hall, he's seen construction workers have come back to work now and are on the work site again. So he said eerie is the word he would use. It's pretty calm down there. He said they're just waiting for more information and frankly waiting to hear that hopefully they can leave their offices and go outside again. Meanwhile, URI is still pushing back, has been pushing back at oh, excuse me, we have an update now from URI in the last minute. This is on URI's Twitter feed. I don't know if we can show this on air. I'll load it here on our computer. What they're saying here is for the time being, campus shuttles have been stopped and RIPTA buses have been diverted away from campus until further notice. This is URI speaking, putting out a tweet on Twitter just a few minutes ago, and URI has been turning to Twitter throughout the last hour and a half or so. You can see here posting a lot of updates because their website has gone down under pressure from the number of people trying to load their servers. They've also, as I was going to say before we heard about the transportation changes, they're pushing back at some reports and rumors that have gone around that this was a drill or that this had been cleared. They said just a little while ago this is definitely not a drill. They're investigating reports of a person with a gun. As Tim said, the state police are also saying that there's no evidence so far of an active shooter or a gunman on campus, and no injuries have been reported at this time. That's really important for people to know. No injuries have been reported. But that said, they are still asking people to stay inside if you're on the URI campus, to wait until they're to be told that the scene has been cleared. Right now, it has not been cleared, despite some of the reports that were circulating earlier online. So we're continuing to monitor this as new information comes in, and we'll have the latest just as soon as we have it, Danielle.
Ted, as we approach the top of the hour here at 1 p.m., I think it's important to sort of recap for people who may be just joining us here on WPRI 12 and on our website as well. The very latest on this breaking news story as state police have converged on the campus of URI in Kingston investigating reports of a possible gunman. Again, still unconfirmed that is actually the case as state police are investigating. We do have a team of reporters on it. Ted Nisi, as you just saw, Tim White in our newsroom, and Nicole Estefan, who joins our photojournalist Brian Butler live from the scene now. Nicole, are you there? Can you hear me?
I am here. Excuse the phone in my ear. This is just my IFB right now. Just arriving on scene. As you said, we have a suspected gunman on campus. Just arriving on scene, I just spoke with a university official, and they do tell me that the state police are handling the investigation at this point. As we know, it happened in the Chafee building. Someone came into a room saying, "I'm a nice guy," and a girl in the room thought that he may have a gun. She started yelling. Word was spreading through, and there was a mass run to get out. I am here with some students here. Michael Wharton, a freshman. What was going on this morning?
Well, we were on our way to Chafee Hall, just going to class, and we just saw a bunch of people pouring out. It was just so surreal. I didn't know what was going on until I got back to my dorm.
What did you hear? What was the first thing you heard, and what was your reaction?
Just people screaming. It really just did not feel like real life. I mean, I don't know what to say about it. It's chaos. We've
seen these things happen before on other school campuses, and in this case right now, all we know is that something may have been in the building, someone may have, but no definitive answer on that. But just to see all the police here and everyone outside on their cell phones, what does it bring to mind?
I mean, I'm here every day, and it's just it's usually so boring and slow. It's insane to see all these cops here. And really just crazy.
We have learned, too, that URI has just canceled classes for the remainder of the day. I'm going to talk to another student over here. You were also on your way to Chafee building when this happened?
Yes, I was. It was just chaos. People flowing out of the building, running, screaming. I didn't know what to do. It wasn't my phone. Everyone's texting me. People from New York, where I'm from, are texting me saying, "Are you okay?" The word spread so fast. It was unreal.
Scary at all?
Very, very scary.
Now, again, we don't have any confirmation that there was actually a gun or a gunman in this building, just speculation at this point, and police are looking into that. State police have not commented at this point, but they do tell us they will bring us information as soon as they have it. And, of course, we will bring you live updates as soon as we have them as well. Back to you.
Again, that was Nicole Estefan reporting for us from the Kingston campus. And again, for viewers who are just joining us, you heard Nicole mention some of the top headlines, but we want to recap as we look at some live pictures again from the scene there at URI. Again, you're looking at live pictures, so it may be a little jumpy in spots here. But again, to bring you up to date, all classes canceled for the remainder of the day on the Kingston campus. Again, at this hour, at 1:04 p.m., the campus still has not been cleared. We understand a large contingent of state and local police are still searching and investigating inside of the Chafee Hall on the Kingston campus. Important to note, at this hour, again, still early in the investigation, but no injuries reported. And as you heard some of those students mention, there appeared to be somewhat of a stampede or kind of a chaotic scene as several hundred students were trying to filter out of that lecture hall out into, the open space there on campus. So, it appears that we're very fortunate that there were no injuries, because certainly when you have a frantic situation and you have that number of people trying to get out of the same place at the same time, sometimes it can present a, potential for injuries there. Tim White has been tracking the latest on the investigation, trying to get whatever information he can. I know you've spoken with state police several times since the investigation first started a little before noontime. Have you learned anything new, Tim?
Yeah, Danielle, I literally just hung up with Colonel Stephen O'Donnell of the Rhode Island State Police to get the very latest information. Again, he's echoing what he's been saying for about the past hour, and that is, at this time, we have no active shooter. And he said that they were called there because someone thought that they saw a gun inside a lecture hall. That is consistent with everything that the eyewitness, the people that are calling into Eyewitness News telling us, and of course that we're getting from the scene. He said that the intent was good on part of the student that thought they saw a gun in there. I asked him about reports that we're getting on Twitter and social media, which again we have to be very careful with, that the gun may have been a toy gun or a plastic gun, a squirt gun, some people are saying. He did confirm for me that they are looking into that, but that they, as far as he knows, they do not have a toy gun or a squirt gun in their possession. Should note they also don't have a real gun in their possession. I asked him if they have anyone in custody, and at this time no one is in custody related to this incident. Again, this is focusing around Chafee Hall. It's on the north side of campus. It's on the outskirts of campus. It's a large building. It houses many of the different schools for the College of Arts and Sciences. It has two very large lecture halls, about 500 each or so, and it's in one of those rooms, from our understanding, that this incident allegedly took place. A male student stood up and said something to the effect of, again, according to eyewitnesses, "I'm a nice guy," and that's when the student thought they saw a gun. None of that has been confirmed by law enforcement at this time. The lecture hall, the Chafee building, has a handful of classrooms on the first floor, and I'm told that the basement floor, from a student that went there, is where all the lecture halls are, and then the upper floors are offices for professors and the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences. It's, Danielle, nearby that lecture hall that all the students ran to a parking lot. It was described by a parent who talked to his daughter, who was in one of the lecture hall where it happened, as, quote, a stampede. And we've been talking about this a little bit here. The really frustrating part for parents, maybe frustrating is not the word, I think scary is probably the word, is that a lot of the students left the lecture hall without their phones, without their laptops, and they were unable to contact their parents or their loved ones to let them know, hey, I'm okay, because there's a scary situation going on here. Rhode Island College is emailing its students. We just got this into the newsroom. Again, we have a lot of interns that go to the University of Rhode Island. We have a lot of interns that go to Rhode Island College, so some of the information we're getting from emails, from phone calls that they're getting, Danielle. Rhode Island College put out an email, and it says, in part, while we are deeply concerned about this incident, we have no reason to believe there is any threat to Rhode Island College. Again, all of this is happening down at the Kingston campus of the University of Rhode Island, and the focus, as you're looking at on Channel 12 right now, is the Chafee building. This is a massive building for the College of Arts and Sciences, and where this incident allegedly took place. They're telling everyone to stay secure, but not in the Chafee building. They've evacuated that building, and as a matter of fact, a photographer, Brian Butler, said that over the speaker system there, they told everyone to back away from that building because that's where the initial report happened. This is still an active situation. The campus is still locked down. As Ted reported just a few minutes ago, RIPTA has been diverted away from the campus, and campus shuttles have been canceled. So have the classes for the Kingston campus of the University of Rhode Island, and most importantly, from URI News, which is the Twitter feed for the University of Rhode Island, we're hearing about no injuries, which is the good news. Danielle?
All right, Tim, we appreciate it. Just a short time ago, we'd interviewed a student by the name of Brianna Kimball. She's actually been on our Eyewitness News coverage several times since we first started covering the story at about noon today. And she described being inside of the lecture hall where she has identified the professor that alerted these students the potential danger there as Barbara Van Sciver. I was actually doing some research on URI's website, and she is indeed a lecturer at URI, apparently with the environmental sciences and also physiology department, that is, and has been with the university for some time. And again, we heard the student Brianna credit the teacher for her sort of calm approach, ushering kids with I believe she identified as the run sign with their hands for these students to leave the classroom and to get out to safety outside of Chafee Hall. Once again, we want to check in with Ted Nisi, who's been tracking all of the online resources he has via Twitter, Facebook, etc. I know that URI has really been heavily using Twitter since the story broke, because you had indicated earlier they were having website issues, right, Ted?
Right, Danielle. At this point, URI is depending on the servers of Facebook and Twitter as opposed to their own URI.edu server to get information out, because that is, I wouldn't say it's crashed, but it's really struggling under the weight of this many people looking for information. You can tell this is starting to become a national news story. We're seeing there are reports of choppers in the air from national news outlets, as well as a number of people clearly paying attention to it outside of Rhode Island. And to try to keep the information flow right, URI did release a statement saying that as of 12:45 p.m., which right now would be about 25 minutes ago, URI is still investigating reports of a man with a gun in or around Chafee Hall on the Kingston campus. Obviously, that's what Tim White has been reporting. He's heard from State Police Colonel Stephen O'Donnell. The university has activated its Emergency Operations Center, and all precautions continue to be taken. As I keep emphasizing when I talk to you, Danielle, they really want people to know that the campus has not been cleared. That rumor was out there for a while. I think it's probably been roundly debunked by now, and they are keeping people inside, asking them not to go out, not to move about outside on the campus. No injuries have been reported so far, as Tim White reported again with the State Police Colonel saying they haven't found a gun and they haven't found a gunman. They're still trying to figure out exactly what happened. We have those eyewitness reports, but we haven't heard anything directly from investigators. URI also saying that the campus you are also saying that classes have been canceled today. We also have a statement I just got on my phone actually here from the superintendent of South Kingstown Schools. She says many of you may have heard the rumor that there was a firearm at URI. We're waiting for more information. The authorities have sealed off the area. Students and others have been evacuated. She said, I want to emphasize that there are no reports of anyone being injured. So they're telling people, please don't go to the URI campus, and they are acknowledging it's very difficult right now for anybody to access the campus via cell phones because so many calls are coming through. So that's the latest that we're hearing here in the newsroom, and we'll continue to monitor this information as it comes online right through the afternoon.
All right, Ted, thank you so much. Again, we're still looking at live pictures. These are aerial pictures coming in from a news chopper hovering above the scene there at URI on the Kingston campus. And when we've seen the cameras from up above zoom in further, you can see images of state and local police and detectives who were in and around the Chafee Hall still investigating reports of a possible gunman. Again, if you're just joining us, we want to bring you some of the important headlines coming here. You heard Ted mention that all classes have been canceled on the Kingston campus. And one thing that we just cannot reiterate enough, especially for viewers who maybe know a student or a professor, or maybe someone who has a student at URI, again, it is a very, very large school in Rhode Island, that there are no reported injuries as a result of whatever incident may have taken place. Again, you're looking at some closer images being provided from our Eyewitness News photojournalist on the scene, Brian Butler. Nicole Estefan is also on the scene gathering some information. She's been speaking with student eyewitnesses. And Tim White has also been in our newsroom tracking more on the police investigation, speaking with some of his sources. Tim, what have you learned?
Well, Danielle, we just got off the phone, our assignment desk just got off the phone with Charlestown Police Department. It's good to remind people when all of this began. According to the Charlestown Police Department, they first received word at 11:20 this morning, and that's when the Chafee building was evacuated. As of now, according to the Charlestown Police Department, this is this entire scene is being controlled by the Rhode Island State Police. The Rhode Island State Police have taken over on the University of Rhode Island Kingston campus in terms of investigating this, and we should point out that the campus is on lockdown. Again, reminder to students, to faculty, to anyone on campus to secure yourself indoors, but they are telling people not inside the Chafee building. Our understanding is that building is empty beside law enforcement. Again, I just got off the phone with Colonel Stephen O'Donnell. There is no evidence of a shooter, he says. They have no one in custody, and they have no gun in their possession as of now, either a real one or a toy one. He said that the person that alerted everyone to this was inside the lecture hall of the Chafee building, one of the two massive lecture halls that they have in there, from what students tell us, and that the student thought they saw a gun on a male student, and that's when the professors started telling everyone to get out of the building, and they went from classroom to classroom in this large Chafee Hall and telling everyone to clear out of there, and eventually over the campus speaker system told everyone to back away from Chafee Hall. I've been talking to parents who have been frustrated that they can't get in touch with their loved ones that have just driven to the campus to go and pick up their sons and daughters because they were so nervous. And one of the things that has been frustrating to a lot of people is the URI.edu, the University of Rhode Island website, is obviously bogged down. In a statement that Ted Nesi read from a little bit earlier, they do have a sentence in here that says, due to extraordinarily high volume, our homepage is not accessible. Therefore, we have replaced it temporarily so that we can keep you updated on the ongoing investigation. We've been using a lot from their official feed at URI News on Twitter, getting a lot of the information from URI, if we're not getting it from law enforcement, from the University of Rhode Island through that. And again, they reiterate campus has not yet been cleared. Classes at the Kingston campus have been canceled. There are no injuries, an important note, and that RIPTA, the Public Transit Authority, has been diverted, and the campus shuttles for now have all been canceled. Danielle?
All right, thank you, Tim. And I know you were touching upon the activity on URI's website. I was actually trying to do some research about their emergency policies in the event of a situation like this. And again, it's frozen and we can't access the information. One thing we can access, though, is our live coverage on the scene. Nicole Estefan has been tracking details since she arrived on the scene. I guess we do not have Nicole at this point. I believe right now we want to join a student who is on the phone. We earlier had spoken with Brianna Kimball. Who do we have on the phone with us right now? I believe it's Brittany?
Yes.
Brittany, can you formally identify yourself for us and tell us where you are on campus right now?
I'm Brittany Picard. I'm a URI student, and I'm in Pastoral Hall. We're on lockdown.
Okay, can you tell us where that is in relation to Chafee Hall?
It's almost all the way across campus, but in a straight line.
Can you tell us where you were when you first received the information that something was going on campus? Bring us back to where you were and how you found out what was going on.
I was actually taking an exam, and everyone started handing their exams in, and then people started getting phone calls and multiple text messages at a time. And then I handed in my exam, and then I looked at my phone. I had 30 text messages from people asking if I was okay, and 5 of which were from URI saying that there was an active shooter on campus.
That's unbelievable. Were you inside Chafee Hall or were you in a different building?
I was in a different building.
Okay. So are you still in the same building where you were originally, or have you been able to move?
Yes, we're not allowed to leave until they have searched the entire campus.
All right, so it's pretty amazing in this day and age, Brittany, where you describe receiving, 30 text messages in a matter of minutes. Are you surprised at how quickly, first of all, the information was sort of circulating, and also how quickly you were able to receive it from campus officials?
Yes, because usually campus alerts come a few minutes after everything happened, but the fact that everything came immediately was great. We were all informed. Our entire class knows exactly what's going on. The entire building's locked down from inside out and everything.
Set the scene for us inside. How many students are there? What's going on? What are people saying right now as we, head almost 2 hours into this investigation here?
There's about 150 students in my lecture hall. And there's also multiple lecture halls in this building.
Okay. Are you seeing sort of the scene play out where you're seeing students constantly on their phones, texting, talking, etc.? Tell us what's going on right now.
Yes, everyone's mostly on their phones. They're getting information from their parents. They're also receiving calls from the school, updating each student about what's going on.
Brittany, before we let you go, you had indicated that you felt very good about the response from URI in the early stage of this, where you received information that the campus was on lockdown. Can you recap for us over the last hour and a half or so what other contact you've had, whether it's the number of text messages or alerts that you've received and what they've detailed for you?
I've gotten about 2 phone calls and about 6 text messages, all stating that there was a active gunman on campus. He was in Chafee Hall, and also that all of Chafee has been evacuated and the rest of the school is on lockdown. And I've also been notified that classes have been canceled for the rest of the day until further investigation, and we are not allowed to leave any buildings until advised.
All right, Brittany, before we let you go, explain to us sort of what's going through your mind. Thankfully, you were not in Chafee Hall. You didn't actually witness what was potentially unfolding in there. But what's going through your mind and some of the other students that you've been gathered with for the last hour and a half or so?
I'm just thankful I wasn't in that lecture hall and that people responded as fast as they did and got the information out to the students as they needed to, so everyone could be safe.
Brittany, we certainly appreciate it, and we're glad that you are safe, and we appreciate you providing all that updated information for us. Brittany and other students have been stressing the importance of being able to receive information through their phones. I mean, you picture a situation like this unfolding, 8-10 years ago. People were not carrying cell phones around then like they do now. So while there's a sense of maybe impatience and frustration that we're not getting as much information as we want, many of these students probably are very thankful that they do have these devices to receive what they are receiving. Ted Nisi has been following online developments from several sources for us. Ted, we're going to join Ted in the tech center actually in just a minute, but I believe, Ted, before we get to you, we want to head back to Eyewitness News reporter Nicole Estefan, who's live in Kingston for us. Nicole?
Well, good afternoon. We are waiting more details from police. I'm going to step out of the shot here and let you take a look at what's going on right now. Again, this incident happened at the Chafee building. It's the journalism and psychology building on campus. We're told there was some sort of conversation where a man said, "I'm a nice guy." A girl thought that he may have a gun. She started screaming. The teacher stood up and told everybody to get out of the building. That's when people started leaving, and other classrooms followed suit. That's what we know at this point. No confirmation on if there was an actual gun or it was just a misunderstanding. Of course, that is something that police are working on figuring out right now, and as soon as we have that information, we'll bring that to you. We've talked to several students. They all tell us, some of them inside, saying, "I was running for my life." They have seen things like this on campuses before, and of course, that's the first thing they thought of. So they started running, just getting out of the building, something they say they have learned from watching other news stories. But again, no confirmation that there was indeed a gunman or a gun in this building. That's just what students were told. That's what one student thought, rather. But again, police on scene. We are waiting information from them, and as soon as we have that, we'll bring it to you. Back to you.
All right, Nicole, I was actually doing a little bit of research before we head over to Ted Nisi about the policy for URI when there's a campus evacuation, and it appears, based on what their emergency procedure is indicated here online, that they followed procedure pretty much to the book, whether it's through their emergency notifications and communications through phones, emails, texts, etc. So again, it appears at this point that they are following protocol in handling the situation. Ted Nisi, again, we want to check in with you in our tech center to see what you're tracking from your online resources. Ted?
Danielle, if I can talk to my producer in the booth, if we can take a look at what's on the computer right now. We've just had another update from URI on Twitter. As Tim mentioned, they're using Twitter because their website's having trouble with the amount of traffic they're getting. This update says state police are in the process of clearing Chafee Hall room by room. Continue to stay indoors until further notice. So again, state police now clearing Chafee Hall, which is where this incident, which we still don't know precisely what happened. We have a lot of different reports, but that's where this took place, and now they're clearing that room by room. This has been going on now for about 2 hours. We've heard that the initial police call came in around 11:20 a.m. and based on what we're hearing, it's been a fairly stable situation. Most people outside milling around at URI. The place has been under lockdown now for I'd say well over an hour. And the question that's going to be looked at closely, it seems like, in the hours to come, was this a misunderstanding? Was this some sort of a hoax? Was there even a gun? And those are the questions students are asking themselves and each other online, particularly on Facebook. They're trying to understand what actually happened, what was real here and what went wrong. And of course, everyone is on a hair trigger about these kind of incidents based on the various things that have happened in recent months and years that we all know about. So again, right now the state police moving through Chafee Hall at URI room by room, clearing that building out to make sure things are safe. Presumably we'll get some sort of update when they finish that process. Tim White, my colleague, has been in touch with State Police Colonel Stephen O'Donnell, who said within the last half hour that they haven't found a toy gun, a real gun, any kind of gun, nor do they have anyone in custody. Again, that was within the last half hour. So there's still many, many outstanding questions, but no injuries reported, and no one has told us they heard a shot fired right now. So there are a lot of questions still to be answered about what's happened down at URI today, but certainly a tense day down at the university, and one that has canceled classes for the rest of the afternoon. And we're continuing to monitor the updates on Twitter, Facebook, and elsewhere, and we'll keep bringing you updates live as we get them. Danielle?
All right, one of the common themes that we've been hearing from some of the student eyewitnesses was how the professor inside of the lecture hall where this reported incident took place handled getting these several hundred students, from what we're hearing from some of the students inside, out of the building safely. I was checking again online at URI's policy for how they handle a potential situation like this, and it says if students encounter someone who appears to have a firearm, to not disarm, to retreat to a safe area, and to contact URI campus police, and then follow the direction of URI campus authorities after that. 4 steps. It appears the steps were followed. It appears that things were handled relatively calmly inside there. That's certainly something that we will get more information on as this investigation develops. Tim White, again, is in our newsroom following more developments for us. I know you've been very, very busy on your phones trying to contact your law enforcement sources, Tim.
Yeah, Danielle, this incident started at 11:20 this morning. That's when the first call came in. We are going on now just over 2 hours since the Chafee Hall was evacuated, since the University of Rhode Island's Kingston campus was put on lockdown, and since law enforcement just went right onto the scene looking for an active shooter. At this time, we can tell you, I got off the phone with Colonel Stephen O'Donnell just about 10 minutes ago now. He says there is no evidence of a shooter. They have no one in custody. One of the things that we saw a lot on social media, and we have to be very careful with, I can tell you, for instance, on a website called Geophedia, where you can look at a portion, a neighborhood, and see what's going on with social media. That whole area just started to pop up with posts from Twitter, Facebook, even Instagram, of basically wondering what's going on. Later, about an hour in, we started hearing about people talking about that it was a plastic gun that was found. Colonel Stephen O'Donnell told me that they are aware of that rumor, for lack of a better word, but he tells me that no gun, be it toy or real, has been found. And again, I just want to repeat myself, no one is in custody at this time. As Ted Nesi just told you, the University of Rhode Island Twitter feed put out that the state police are in the process of going through Chafee Hall room by room and clearing each room one at a time. The state police took over the scene as soon as they got there. Municipal law enforcement from as far away as Narragansett, right next door, South Kingstown, they're all there. Campus police were the first to respond, but I'm told that campus police are not armed. So in situations like this, they rely obviously on local law enforcement and the Rhode Island State Police. And again, the Rhode Island State Police are in charge. We're also told by people on the scene that the state police are using canine units. They're using dogs to go around campus and specifically go into the Chafee building and room by room clear each room as they work their way through that building. It was in a lecture hall there that this incident started. A student thought that another student, or a male, had a gun on them, and that's when she shouted out, "He has a gun," something to that effect. Colonel O'Donnell tells me that the student had all the right intentions there, that they did the right thing because they thought something was going on and decided to alert everyone to it. And as you pointed out, Danielle, it was the professors that then immediately told everyone to get out of that building, not only in that main lecture hall that apparently there are 2 in that building, but classroom by classroom, told everyone to clear out, and eventually campus police, local police, pushed everyone back from Chafee Hall. Danielle?
All right, Tim, as Tim has been gathering new information, I've also been researching some of the information on URI's website about how the school handles their campus security. was reading a quote from their head of security, Mr. Baker, who has indicated that frequently they hold lectures on safety at URI. It's called URI 101. Many of these students are required to take this so that they learn about what to do in any potential situation on campus. So certainly that's one of the angles we'll be following to see if some of that may have helped in preparing students in handling the situation today. Ted Nesi again has been tracking new developments for us from our tech center, and the information really hasn't been changing too much in the last hour, has it, Ted?
No, you're absolutely right, Danielle. I was going to say, just to step back from the moment-to-moment reports here, really we have a fairly stable situation, and hopefully it remains that way, which is we've had state police investigating along with South Kingstown Police Department and the URI police, who, as Tim said, are not armed. All of them responded after a call came in that there was an active shooter at URI. However, both from official police reports and our own discussions here at WPRI with eyewitnesses, no one else has said that there is or was an active shooter. No one has said told us they heard gunfire or saw shots fired. So it's still very unclear what exactly happened. All we really know is something happened inside a classroom in Chafee Hall at URI during the middle of the 11 o'clock a.m. hour, and that led to great concern and the evacuation of the building, and then what we're seeing right now. Despite the fact that things seem fairly calm, I spoke to someone who works at URI within the last half hour who said it's very eerie there because people are either milling about outside trying to see what's happening or just inside with the doors closed waiting to be told it's cleared. But despite that quiet, URI continuing to update using Facebook and Twitter, and the most recent update from URI saying that state police are clearing Chafee Hall, that building where this all began, room by room, wanting to see what's going on there, and the instructions to the staff, to the faculty, everyone down there are to remain indoors until further notice. So the good news at this hour is that we haven't heard, there's no reports of injuries. There's actually no official reports of any shots fired or any kind of active shooting, but it is obviously something that law enforcement handles with great care and great caution, and I think that's why they're probably keeping everyone inside until they're absolutely certain they know what's going on and they can clear the scene. So we're watching these updates as they come in. We're watching the URI community watch the same updates and wait to get more information, but right now there won't be any more classes today at URI. That's already been decided, and we're waiting to see if they're able to clear the scene at any time going forward down at URI. So that's the latest that we're hearing here in the newsroom. Back to you, Danielle.
All right, Ted, we appreciate your efforts as we're going to wrap up our coverage here. We, of course, will break in if conditions warrant. But before we head out, we want to take one last check into our newsroom with Target 12 reporter Tim White so he can recap what he's learned on the police investigation. Tim?
Danielle, let's go through the headlines here of what we know, what's happening down at the University of Rhode Island's Kingston campus. I spoke with Rhode Island State Police Colonel Stephen O'Donnell. He says there is no evidence of a shooter, that no one is in custody, and that they have no gun has been recovered. This incident started at approximately 11:20 this morning, a little over 2 hours ago in Chafee Hall. A student thought another student had a gun on them and yelled out. That's when the building was evacuated and the entire campus was put on lockdown. Further headlines: the campus has not yet been cleared. As Ted Nesi just reported, the state police are going room by room in Chafee Hall, and we're learning now they're also using canine units. Classes at the Kingston campus have been canceled, and most importantly, of course, there are no reports of any injuries. RIPTA has been diverted from the Kingston campus, and the campus shuttle has been canceled, and the state police are in charge at the Kingston campus of the University of Rhode Island. Danielle, of course, as we have more information, we'll bring it to you right away.
Thank you, Tim, very much. We want to thank Tim White, Ted Nesi, Walt Buteau, Nicole Estefan, who've all been working very hard around the clock since we started to cover this story at about 11:40 this morning. As we continue to track the developments from Kingston, we want to let our viewers know that we will break into programming if conditions warrant. But for the very latest on this story, in the meantime, we hope you'll join us live at 5 and 6 tonight on Eyewitness News, and we'll continue to bring you updates on WPRI.com as well.